Whatever rocks your socks, whatever spins your top, whatever winds your watch, whatever flips your flop, whatever turns you on, whatever flies your flag, whatever bangs your gong, or whatever swings your bag. Do it often, but do it well, 'cause nobody knows and there's no way to tell when the ride ends.
Is this not just the worst haircut you've ever seen in your life? Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. You know, I mean, she started and she missed the part. All right, there's 4 kinds of human hair. Part on the left, part on the right, part in the center, no part, wear bangs. Right, that's it. That's what a barber has to work with. 4 types of human hair. And she missed the part, and I'm sitting there in the chair. It's the first thing she does, right? And I'm thinking, she's missed the part, right? She cut all this way down here, right? She thinks it's that. And I thought, well, you know, see, I go to a different barber every time because I want to spread my money up and down the main street of Thailand. I want everybody in this town to know that while I live on a very small pension, I spend every baht of it here in Turtle Beach. So every time I need a haircut, I go to a different store. And I thought, well, you know, if it's bad, it'll make a story and I'll grow out of it. I'll get it fixed, something. And then I immediately went to sleep. I focused on the fact that a woman was touching my head and it wasn't going to cost me 2,000 baht. And I fell asleep. You know how you do. You're sort of in and out. She says, turn your head this way, you do, and then you go back to sleep. And when I woke up and she said she was done, and I looked at this and I thought, oh God, this is terrible. Well, the story of this haircut is part of a larger story about the cannabis store that is opening next door to me. You remember when I said, oh, they're opening a pot store next door to Steve Rosse. What can go wrong? Ha 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 ha. Tons of shit can go wrong, it turns out. And I want you to know up front, I haven't spent a dime. Well, I'm for the most part spent a dime on this pot store, but I've been roped in to decorate it, to do like a set of boontongs to make it pretty and inviting to the farang. And just that much has got me deep into a morass of neighbor drama. And this haircut turned out to be part of it. I want to tell you that story, but it's not over yet. And Aristotle says a narrative needs a beginning, a middle, and end, the unities, right? And I know Christopher Nolan has trained us not to expect the beginning and middle to be in that order anymore. But I think we all do still expect from a story an ending, a satisfying ending. The protagonist achieves his goal over the machinations of the antagonist. And they live happily ever after. They ride off into the sunset together. There's a scroll that tells you what each character did the rest of their lives. Yeah, whatever. There's an ending. And this hasn't ended yet. The story of the cannabis store next door has not ended yet. I think it will in a couple days. And my OCD won't allow me to give you this narrative without an ending. But it's Friday morning. I have to put a video online. My OCD won't allow me to skip a Friday. So here we are. I want to talk about Ladyboys instead. In the West, we have this perception that Ladyboys only work, they only work in the transvestites or transgendered people. They only work in the show business or the sex industry. They're either a showgirl or a prostitute. That's it. We have this perception. When in fact, ladyboys live in every community in Thailand. They do regular jobs. They live, with their families. They live with their friends and boyfriends and lovers. And, they have lives like everybody. In this little town, and Turtle Beach is a fairly small town, there are 2 ladyboys who I've noticed, who I recognize as transgendered people, as Katais. There are probably many more who I've either not met yet or who passed so successfully, I'm just not aware. But the two that I'm aware of are very, very friendly, and I've become, a waving acquaintance, a hey, how you doing kind of acquaintance. One sells salted fish from a samlaw, a motorcycle with a sidecar. And she's parked outside the market all day long under her canopy, looking at her phone, selling salt fish. Now, typically in South Thailand, you'll see these samlaws everywhere. They sell salt fish everywhere. Not here. She's the only one. And I asked her, why are you the only one selling salt fish in a place that for 200 years has only done fish and tin, and they don't do tin anymore. They still do fish as much as they can in this depleted ocean. But there's still plenty of fish around, and people love to eat fish, and they love to eat salted fish. How come you're the only one? And she said, because mine's the best. People come from all over the province to eat my salted fish. Nobody can compete with me. Good for you. You go, girl. The other one, the other ladyboy who I know, runs our local religious supply store, the place you go when you want to buy incense. And it's a recession-proof business. It's a wonderful business. She does tons of money. It's probably the most financially successful business on our main street. It's actually two shop houses, 2 stories tall each, and they extend the entire width of the city block. It's huge. All 339 Hindu gods, Buddhas, dead kings, mythical creatures, everything you could want. All the paper props the Chinese burn at a funeral. I love those. Dad liked fast cars. He could never have one in his life. Now that he's dead, send him one in heaven. Buy a little Lamborghini made out of paper and burn it. Buy money and burn it. Mom liked hats. Let's buy her a fancy hat and burn it. Send it to her in Chinese heaven. All that stuff I love. Props, right? And it's recession proof. A Thai person who has 10 baht and they haven't made merit today and they haven't eaten today, they'll spend that 10 baht on incense. It's more important to make merit than to eat. And so during COVID, every other business in town collapsed. Well, I exaggerate to make a point. But there was hard times for 3 years. It's been very hard in this town. Not for the religious supply store. People have been praying like hell. So she's very sweet, very successful, very smart, very pretty. Oh my God, a face like an angel. Funny, charming. She speaks English. She speaks English, Thai, and Chinese, of course. If she didn't have a penis, I would be all over that, like white on rice. But for me, the penis is a deal breaker. When I have sex, I want there to be one penis in the room, and I want that to be mine. She and I are never going to be more than flirty friends when I go in to buy my incense. I also buy those Burmese cheroots. They're a very common Tambun product for Burmese monks. There's a ton of Burmese monks in Thailand right now. They've run like hell from where they were. And because they typically in Burma, that's how they keep the mosquitoes off them, they smoke those things all day long. And so you can buy them real cheap, 5 baht for like 20. And I like to smoke those. I like the taste of them. Anyway, so those are the two toys in town. The story I want to tell you this week is in lieu of the haircut story. It's not me, right? That's terrible, right? That's awful. Anyway, in lieu of that story, I want to tell you about my first encounter with a gatoi, with a transvestite. And it was my first night on Phuket. If you've read the book Leaving Thailand, this is in there. You can skip ahead or go do something else. If you haven't heard the story, here it is. Pardon me a moment. An Actor Prepares by Stanislavski. So I fly into Phuket, and it's been a hellish journey. My first trip here in 1988 was supposed to start in Bangkok, go down through Phuket, Malaysia, Java, Indonesia, Bali, and end with a cross-country trip across Australia. I got as far as Phuket and blew off all my deposits and stayed on Phuket for 3 months, and that changed the rest of my life. To this day, I'm sitting here right now because I decided to stay on Phuket on that trip and not go on to Australia. So my first night on Phuket, I'm jet lagged. I haven't slept in like 36 hours. I haven't eaten in 12 hours. I finally make it to Phuket. I will spare you all of the mishigas that took place in trying to get to Phuket that trip. Finally get to Phuket. I think I was in the Patong Merlin, some cheap hotel on Patong Beach, and I can't sleep. I know a lot of these videos begin with me saying, I couldn't sleep, but yeah, I deal with insomnia, right? We all do, don't we? One reason I smoke pot every day. One reason. At any rate, and thus the drama next door. Blame it on Steve's insomnia. Self-medication. Anyway, so I end up in this cheap hotel on Patong Beach. It's 3 a.m. I can't sleep. It's 3 p.m. back in New York. I'm going to be awake. So I go for a walk on the beach, on Patong Beach at 3 a.m. And I'm walking along. It's a full moon night. Beautiful blue light. You know, that very specific blue light of moonlight. Like Hannibal Lecter says, have you ever seen blood in the moonlight? Look at anything in the moonlight. It's special. So I'm walking on the beach. First night in Thailand since I was a kid. I was here, when I was a kid several times, but as an adult, I was 30 years old. And this small, petite, bosomy figure slides up next to me. Say, hey, sexy man, where you go? And the newbie says, I'm just walking around. She says, you want a blowjob? Now, I've been in a plane for 36 hours. And I was very busy in the days leading up to moving, or not moving, but coming. And so, yeah, I was pretty randy. I was pretty horny. And she says, you want a blowjob? And I say, yes. And she pushes me into a deck chair. We're all alone. Patong Beach, miles long. Thousands of deck chairs on the sand. Nobody out at 3 a.m. I'm alone in a single occupied deck chair, and she's kneeling between my legs. And it was great. It was fantastic. It was one of the most pleasurable sexual events of my life. And if this is too much information, fine. Go. Enjoy your day, right? This is what I do. I expose. So it's over, and I'm about to say, oh God, thank you, baby, thank you, that was so wonderful, spend the rest of your life with me. And I look down, and she's looking up at me with a big grin on her face, and I can see down her shirt, and I see that her breasts are old-fashioned foam rubber falsies. Every prop shop in America, and every theater in America has a box of foam rubber boobs, right? Every costume shop, they're common on stage. And they are common in the lives of old school Thai transvestites. Now, of course, it's cheap enough to get silicone put in your chest, and you don't see those, but it used to be, they would put falsies in there, and I'm looking down at a pair of foam rubber falsies. And I look up into this face, and I realize I'm looking at the face, and the wig's like this, right? The wig's askew. And I realize I'm looking in the face of like a 40-year-old dude. And instead of saying, oh, baby, thank you, will you spend the rest of your life with me? I said, how much? How much will it cost me to get the fuck off this beach? And she said X, I don't know. And I gave her everything in my wallet. I just gave her all the money I had. And wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And I got off that beach and I went to the Holiday Inn. And the Holiday Inn was open by now. And I sat by the pool until they opened. And I tried to grok what had just happened. I'd never had a sexual encounter with another man. In my life in the theater, I had my ass pinched backstage in the dark thousands of times. I was propositioned by many, many men. When I was a young man, I was cute. You can't tell now. But when I was a young man, I looked good. And coming out of college, I was very fit. I took a lot of gym classes in college. I got into weightlifting and ballet. And I was cut. And still in my 30s, I looked pretty good. And so I was approached by both men and women backstage. Pre-AIDS, that was one of the reasons you worked in the theater. Because there was sex everywhere. But in all that time, I had politely declined the offers from men. Just not my thing. But I had to sit there that morning while the sun came up at the Holiday Inn pool and think, wow, you just got maybe the best blowjob of your life from a dude. Think about that. Or don't think about that, whichever works. Well, they opened the Holiday Inn buffet, and Steve went and ate a huge meal, wonderful meal. Thank you, Holiday Inn. Thank you, Wolfgang Moisberger, for that lovely breakfast. And I went to my room and I slept for like 14 hours. And it was night when I came out again, and I went to a bar and I experienced, heterosexual commercial sex. And since then, that is what I have experienced. I don't, judge or criticize the men or women who enjoy partners of fluid gender. And like I said, the woman who runs the religious supply store is just the most wonderful woman on earth. She's wonderful. I love her to death. She's really great. But yeah, the penis, go figure. It's the details, right? God is in the details. All right, that's my Gatoy story. That's 15 minutes. That's a long monologue. Thank you. If you're still here, thank you. I love you. Man, thank you so much for the attention. This is the best day of my week. Next week, hopefully, I'll be able to tell you the story of the cannabis store opening next door. And Steve, after 30 years of studying this country, walks into it, just walks into drama connected to the cannabis store. And it's right next door. It's not like I can just avoid the place. There's only one way off this beach. It's going that way. I have to drive by this guy's store every time I come and go from my house. Well, other than when I ride the bicycle in the morning down the beach the other direction. But I digress. Yeah, next week, hear the story of the cannabis store. Again, like, subscribe, and please share. If you're still here, it's because you like this. If you like this, maybe there's someone else who'll like it. I'm told that's the most important thing a viewer can do. Subscribe and share. So if you're already subscribed, thank you. And if you want, share, please, with somebody who likes Thailand or somebody who likes bad haircuts. Please share. And next week, a Boomtongs video, and the week after that, a monologue about the cannabis store. I've got a bar, a beach bar set. I've got a go-go set. I've got a house in Isan, a traditional Thai bamboo house in Isan. I'm shooting the current Boomtongs video on the beach, completely on the beach. And I've already lost a $50 prop in the water. At any rate, yeah. So I might make a cannabis store prop set. Doesn't that seem like a place where stories would happen in Thailand right now? In a cannabis store. I'm going to make it a little cannabis store set. All right, anyway, that's it. Thank you. See you next week.
Whatever shaves your sheep, whatever bakes your lamb, whatever digs your peak, whatever smokes your ham, whatever blows your nose, whatever chews your bone, whatever squirts your hose, whatever sings your song, do it often but do it well. Nobody knows and there's no way to tell. When you're riding, shoot down to that